Imagine this. You're on a flight cruising at 35,000 feet. Passengers are relaxed, some asleep, some reading. Suddenly, a man collapses midair, gasping for breath, his pulse fading fast. Panic spreads through the cabin. Then a voice calls out, calm and steady. "I'm a doctor. Let me help." Every head turns. Relief floods the air, until one flight attendant steps forward and says the unthinkable. "Sir, please sit down. We need to wait for a real doctor." That's exactly what happened to Dr. Jamal Rivers, a respected trauma surgeon with years of experience saving lives. He wasn't just a passenger. He was the only person on that flight trained to handle a medical emergency. But instead of gratitude, he was met with suspicion. Within minutes, a routine act of kindness turned into a nightmare, one that ended with airport security handcuffing him on the tarmac in front of hundreds of people. And yet, the moment the truth came out, the world watched the story take a shocking turn no one saw coming. Because this wasn't just about racism on a plane. It was about what happens when ignorance almost costs a man his life. Stay with me until the end, because when the cameras started rolling and the truth hit the headlines, the fallout didn't just change one airline, it changed everything. It was a Thursday evening, Flight 709 from Denver to Miami. The flight was smooth, quiet, the kind where time seemed to stretch. Dr. Jamal Rivers sat in seat 17A, reading over patient notes on his tablet. He was on his way to Miami to speak at a medical conference about racial bias in healthcare, a topic he knew all too well. At 38, Jamal was one of the youngest trauma surgeons at St. Mary's Hospital, known for staying calm under pressure. He'd been through wars, disasters, and emergency surgeries that most doctors only read about. But nothing could have prepared him for this. Halfway through the flight, a loud thud echoed from the aisle. A middle-aged man had collapsed. His wife screamed for help. "Please! He's not breathing!" Jamal jumped up instantly, moving toward the man. "I'm a doctor," he said firmly. "Let me take a look." But before he could kneel beside the patient, a flight attendant stepped in front of him, Amanda Blake, mid-40s, sharp uniform, stern expression. "Sir, please return to your seat," she ordered. Jamal frowned. "Ma'am, he needs medical attention now. I'm a trauma surgeon." Amanda hesitated, looking him up and down. "Do you have proof of that?" He blinked, stunned. "Proof? There's a man dying right here." "I'm sorry, sir," she said coldly. "We can't just let anyone touch a passenger." He reached into his pocket, pulling out his hospital ID. "Here. I'm Dr. Rivers, St. Mary's Hospital." She glanced at it for a second, then scoffed. This could be fake. By now, other passengers were shouting. "He said he's a doctor. Let him help." But Amanda shook her head. "We've radioed the cockpit. We'll wait for medical personnel when we land." Jamal's voice rose. "He doesn't have that long." Ignoring him, Amanda bent down beside the unconscious man, fumbling with the oxygen mask, her hands trembling. Jamal's instincts kicked in. "You're putting it on wrong," he said, moving closer. "Let me do it." That's when she snapped. "Step back, or I'll have you restrained." The cabin went silent. All eyes were on them. The man's wife sobbed. "Please, let him help. He's dying." Amanda hesitated. Sweat formed on her forehead. Passengers were filming now, whispering angrily. Finally, another attendant, younger, clearly nervous, whispered to her. "Amanda, maybe let him try?" Amanda glared but stepped aside reluctantly. "Fine. But if you cause trouble, you'll be removed after we land." Jamal didn't waste another second. He knelt down, checked the man's pulse, airway, and breathing. "He's in cardiac arrest," he said sharply. "I need the emergency medical kit and an AED, now." Passengers scrambled to help. The younger attendant handed him the kit. Jamal began CPR, giving chest compressions, then used the defibrillator. After 2 shocks, the man gasped, his pulse faint but returning. The cabin erupted in relieved murmurs. The man was alive. Jamal wiped sweat from his forehead, He needs immediate care after landing. Amanda stood silently, arms crossed, refusing to meet his eyes. When the plane touched down in Miami, medics rushed on board. They thanked Jamal and wheeled the passenger out. The man's wife hugged Jamal through tears. "You saved his life," she whispered. But before Jamal could even stand, airport security boarded the plane. "Dr. Rivers?" one officer asked. "Yes?" "You need to come with us," passengers gasped. The same woman who just watched her husband revived shouted. "Why?" "He just saved my husband," Amanda spoke up coldly. "He became aggressive during the flight. We need to question him." Jamal stared at her in disbelief. "Aggressive? I saved a life." But it didn't matter. They cuffed him right there in front of everyone, cameras flashing, phones recording, the whole world watching. The airport security office was sterile and cold. Jamal sat with his hands cuffed, heart pounding. He couldn't believe what was happening. A young officer entered. "Sir, we're reviewing footage from the flight." "Good," Jamal said bitterly. "Because it'll show exactly what happened." He wasn't wrong. Meanwhile, outside, the story was already breaking. Passengers had uploaded videos online with captions like, "Black doctor saves man's life, gets arrested for helping." Within hours it exploded. Millions of views. Hashtags, hashtag Dr. Rivers, hashtag let doctors help, and hashtag racism in the skies began trending. Back inside, an airline manager arrived, pale, sweating. "Dr. Rivers, we owe you an apology." He held up a tablet showing the security footage. It clearly captured the entire incident, Amanda blocking him, passengers pleading, then her false report. Jamal stared at the screen silently. The manager's voice trembled. "The man you treated, Mr. Paul Daniels, he's stable now. The hospital confirmed you saved his life." Jamal exhaled slowly. "And yet I'm the one in handcuffs." The officer looked ashamed. "We'll fix this right away." Moments later, the cuffs came off. Cameras waited outside the door. Reporters shouted questions. Jamal didn't say much, just one sentence that echoed across every news station that night. "Being black should never make me suspicious for saving a life." The airline scrambled to respond. They issued a statement calling it an unfortunate misunderstanding. But the public wasn't having it. Passengers from the flight came forward in interviews, defending him. One said, "He was calm the whole time. The only one acting aggressive was the crew." Within 24 hours, the airline's stock dipped. Sponsors demanded answers. Amanda was suspended pending investigation. But that wasn't the end. 2 days later, the hospital where Jamal worked held a press conference. His colleagues stood beside him in solidarity, doctors, nurses, even patients he'd saved. Dr. Rivers stepped to the podium. His voice was calm, but his words cut deep. "I didn't save that man to prove I'm a good doctor. I saved him because that's what a doctor does. But when my skin color makes people question my profession, that's not a misunderstanding, that's a sickness." The crowd applauded. Reporters wiped tears. Within a week, the airline's CEO personally called him to apologize. But Jamal wasn't interested in PR statements. He said, "Don't apologize to me. Change your system." And he meant it. Over the next few months, the airline partnered with national organizations to mandate bias training for all employees. They created a medical emergency policy ensuring all qualified professionals, regardless of race, could assist without harassment. But the most powerful moment came when Jamal reunited with the man he saved, Paul Daniels. Paul, still recovering, hugged him tightly during a live TV interview. "You didn't just save my life," he said. "You saved my faith in humanity." Jamal smiled softly. "Then maybe it was worth it." As the interview aired, a clip of Amanda surfaced. She had resigned from the airline and joined a nonprofit focused on diversity education. When asked why, she said, "I saw what my fear almost cost, a man's life. I'll never let that happen again." Jamal never responded publicly to her apology. Instead, he continued his mission, traveling, speaking, and inspiring young black medical students with one message: never let anyone make you sit down when you're meant to stand up. And the line that stuck with everyone came from his final speech at the conference he almost missed. Racism didn't stop me from saving a man's life. But one day, I hope it stops someone from losing theirs. Sometimes, the hardest battles aren't fought in hospitals or courtrooms. They're fought in silence.